I read The Mayor of Casterbridge, written by Thomas Hardy. My copy had 306 pages, but it was listed as having 448 pages. The novel starts out with Mr. Henchard completely drunk at a bar with his wife and daughter. He gets into a gigantic argument with his wife and then offers her to anyone at the bar who will take her. After silence, a man eventually decides to take his wife, and they are off. The next morning, Mr. Henchard wakes up and realizes the gigantic mistake that he has made. After that, the novel speeds up after the man who took his wife has died, and his wife and his child then go on to look for Mr. Henchard and come back to him. They find him in a place called Casterbridge, which Mr. Henchard has made a really good name for himself. Them coming back brought a load of chaos because Mr. Henchard has established new connections and relationships in that town, and that chaos, you will see, plays out after you read the book. The first textual reference is on page 56, and it reads, "In a few minutes the latter emerged, bag in hand. Henchard looked at the bag as an enemy." The diction with the word enemy shows the complete regret that Mr. Henchard has been living with ever since he gave his wife away, and that is coming back ever since his wife has come back to town. This unconfidence is especially prominent now that him and his wife are establishing more connections. The next textual reference is on page 183. Henchard thereupon left the field and followed her. His state of mind was such that on reaching Lucetta's door he did not knock, but opened it and walked straight up to her sitting room, expecting to find her there. But the room was empty, and he perceived that in his haste he had somehow passed her on the way hither. In that time, it was very important how a person presented themselves. And this quote shows that how a person presents themselves to the public is not always how they act in private. Him not knocking on Lucetta's door and just walking in is not acceptable in the time that they were living in. The short sentences also used are not common in this novel. It is usually long, flowing sentences, which is how he thinks all of his thoughts through. But in this time, he's very chaotic and stressed, which is why the sentences are much shorter. The third and final textual reference is from page 226. He could not say, he would consider. When she was gone, he recollected that he had left a heap of useless papers in his former dining-room safe, built up in the walls of his old house, now occupied by Farfrae. The letters might have been amongst them. The first sentence in this quote, he would not say, he would consider, is how he presents himself to other people when he's in this state of mind, very reserved so other people could not see his stress. But the interrupted sentences also used show the reader that he is in a mass state of fret when trying to find this very important paper. The biggest theme in this novel is you can't run away from your past. Mr. Henchard made a gigantic mistake when giving away his wife, but then when she comes back, it's a constant reminder of the huge mistake that he has made, and that will always be here, especially with his daughter being a prominent figure in his life as well. And that is the end.